In the final part of the visual soil assessment, we can actually get away from digging a hole to find out a lot of the information. A lot of us will have access to it either by speaking to whoever's field it is or just by looking at the area around us, which is quite handy. The first of these is around our rooting depth. Now, in many cases, we might actually want to keep digging down to find out just how deep our roots have gone. And the upper limit in the visual soil assessment is beyond 80 centimetres. So you might be here a while digging that hole. If you've got capacitance probe data, you can easily enough look at that to see where your root activity is in those fields. I know from the data out of this field that the roots in this field go below 80 centimetres. Now, if you're aware of a hard pan in your soil, then obviously you'll know that's probably going to limit your rooting depth. So being able to gauge that, think about what issues it is, what's causing those problems in your field if you do have shallow roots. Can they be overcome? If not, then you just progress. But for this soil, good rooting depth, external data, and we're going to go score it a 2 again out of that possible 2. The next part of the assessment is surface ponding. Now, already we've done the mottles, so we know there's not much evidence of development of anaerobic bits in the soil here. So that would suggest the structure is good enough that surface ponding is avoided. Again, speak to the farmer. We're in an irrigated system here. He tells me he irrigates, he stops the siphons, and it's gone easily within a day. So again, that actually scores us, based on our assessment, in a 2. This soil is freely draining and doesn't suffer from ponding. So we've considered rooting depth, we've considered ponding, and the next bit is surface crusting. Now, I can see already on the surface around me here that there is evidence of crusting. Crusting on the surface is usually caused by often sodic issues near the surface, or it could be caused due to a lack of organic matter. So that's how we correct surface crusting problems, by trying to increase organic matter returns or through the use of gypsum. How do we assess the crusting? We can see crusting is present on the soil surface, and basically we want to just try and lift up some of these crusty flakes. So we've got some crust here. It's come up as a single piece. It's about 1/4 the size of the palm of my hand. We can see it's probably about 2 to 3 millimeters thick. And the VSA guide describes a moderate crusting condition as basically it describes it as a camera size cover piece of about 2 to 3 millimeters. So I would say this soil is exposed to moderate crusting. So I'd score that a 1. The final part of our visual soil assessment is erosion. Now again, erosion in the recent drought has been very evident to many of us. We've seen huge dust storms, or we've seen that soil accumulate on fence lines. And most of us on flood irrigated systems will know that we have the movement of water in our irrigation, and will be aware of the build-up in tail drains. This part of the assessment then about erosion is really thinking more about how prone to risk your soil is for that water erosion. Now, in a managed landscape like this, where the field is laser leveled every now and then, and where it's managed to keep the furrows and the hills in place, you won't see much sign or evidence normally of any rilling or gullying. Now, the soil type in the field is likely to be similar to what's around our drains or our channels, or even in the wider landscape. So often just looking at those for evidence of signs of erosion is a good telltale. And even just driving in here to film this, there was no signs of any rilling down those irrigation channels. So actually I would say the soil here isn't all that prone, or isn't all that much at risk to water-based erosion, and therefore I'm actually going to score that as good. The last part is there's a series of multipliers that give us weighting to these various factors and how they relate to our soil health. That will give us an overall score, and then we can work out where that sits in relation to whether we have a good soil, a moderate soil, or a poor soil. And that's how easy the visual soil assessment is. Once we have that measure though, we can then think about how often we come back to this field, or what management changes we might consider to improve the areas where we've now got a recognised score that says there are things that we could be doing to make our fields even more productive. So if we were doing a visual soil assessment in this field for real, we'd now move on and do at least 2 more sites in the field and then work out what our composite score is. But for this site here, we scored 37. That's what the score we got at the end of the day, which puts this soil very much in the good category. If I was then going to talk to the grower about what he might be thinking about doing and improving, where this led him down, the areas are in surface crusting, which could be remediated with either gypsum or trying to increase his organic matter returns, and in his absence of earthworms. Now, there's no way to put earthworms back, so crusting it is. Gypsum, organic matter returns, and maybe in the future he'll score higher.